Cool. Welcome, everyone. Good to see you guys here. We are, really pleased to be with Dominic today, who is the creator of missingblackpeople.com, which is a site that was created 2 weeks ago or 2.5 weeks ago, that since went viral. And today, Dominic will be sharing his story on making that product, how it came about, and the ins and outs of creating a product that goes viral with no code, and the limitations of that, or the bonuses of that, and all the good stuff in between. So I think the format is going to be very similar to how we normally go, starting with probably Dominic introducing himself and the story, and then moving into some kind of nitty gritty stuff, screen sharing, before then questions at the end. But I'm sure, Dominic, you're pretty happy to field questions as and when we go, as we go. So
yeah,
awesome. I'll pass over to you, Dominic, and let you take it away.
okay. Hello, everybody. Before we even get started, I want to note that I had very little control over this project going viral. I build this is not a playbook. I'm just showing you the things I've done. There's lots of things that I don't even know why they worked, but all I can do is show you that this worked in this particular instance. And maybe some things are good for you to try. I don't have any slides. I'm going to show you the website, the back end of the website. I'm going to show you the analytics tools, and we're just going to talk. It's an open conversation. It's not no lecture or anything like that. So I'm going to screen share and show you the website. So
it'd be good, Dominic, to hear just maybe a little bit about you as well,
yeah,
and how you've come to no code.
Yeah. So before we even get into the website, like Matt said, I'll talk a little bit about me. I am a self-taught software developer and recently become a product manager, and I focus more on product now. But I have experience in the architecture and construction industry. That is how I made my way into tech. In undergrad, I did architecture. I wasn't quite an architect. I really loved math and physics, and the program I was in was more artistic based. My professors suggested that I go into construction, and construction was too fieldy for me, too product management. I wanted to be on the cutting edge. I wanted to be in like technology, research, development. And I did my undergrad in America. So in America at the time, there was emerging a lot of firms with emerging VDC departments. So these are like tech departments in the construction industry. So when I went into the field, I was an engineer in the field, but I focused on research and development in the construction industry. So I was dealing with drones for construction, robots, bricklaying robots, 3D printers, laser scanners, visual modeling, all different types of visual modeling, VR, AR. That was my job. And I not only designed systems, I maintained systems and created strategy for clients like Microsoft, Blue Origin, Citibank, Mercedes, really like cutting edge clients that wanted to push the bar on the buildings they were creating for their factories, for their campuses, and these type of things. I discovered no code maybe within the last, just see if you can still see me. I discovered no code maybe within the last year or so, and I discovered it through the hackathon space. So I've been competing in hackathons for many years now, and in the last year or so, I was seeing more and more no-code tools that were sponsoring hackathons, and I was seeing more about no-code on Twitter. And especially in hackathons, you want to try and build as quickly as possible. I think Glide was my gateway drug to no code. And ever since then, I have been using all different kinds of tools. And I actually rarely code now, especially having a product manager job now. I rarely do any coding, but I do see the value and balance in both. I do a lot of tutorials. I do a lot of testing different tools, finding out what I like, what I don't like about different tools, what tools are good for what. And I think that in itself might make some of my decisions a little bit clearer. As Max will know, or if you follow me on Twitter, I post a lot of projects. I probably ship something weekly. It might be a new project. I might take a tweet of someone saying, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we have this app? And I use that as inspiration to hack together a project, whether it's for a hackathon or just like me learning through teaching a tutorial or me learning a new tool. So does anyone have any questions about me? I can't see my face. Oh, wow. Okay, sorry about that. Does anyone have any questions about me before we get on to the interesting part?
So you were actually a technical guy, right? You were a technical developer, yeah. Dominic, right? Like you were coding in JavaScript or something like that, right?
Yeah. So I JavaScript was probably used less because I was in the construction space and I'm dealing with like architecture. So we was creating algorithms for like how to lay out buildings, but we wasn't using JavaScript like for client facing stuff. But yeah, technical background. I didn't study it. It was more like my own interests that was able to be expressed in my professional work.
Dominic, I'm really interested to understand how you're time managing so that you can do ship a product a week, but we can pick that up on the end because that
I think on the end / throughout it might kind of be clear about my process and like and this is what this is about for me. It's not about the output or the viral product. That doesn't even matter. It's like me sharing my process with you and hopefully learning about different people's processes too. So I'll keep that in mind about the consistency of shipping as we go along. So I've been over the last maybe 2 weeks, I've been asked this a lot. What was the motivation for this particular product? And like I said, I usually take like a story or I take something that I see online as inspiration for a product. And what you've seen recently, at least in the UK, in the news, is 2 big cases. One with a young black boy that went missing, that was eventually found dead. And the same thing with a young black girl that was missing on an internship, again, found drowned. They said it wasn't suspicious. But the more, as unfortunate as that whole situation is, the more interesting part is in the UK, there's a disproportionate amount of black people from black communities that go missing, many of which doesn't get the news. So even though these 2 articles these 2 stories made the news, most of the stories don't make the news, especially according to the statistics of representation. And that's what I thought was interesting. And initially, all I wanted this site to do is curate the missing people. So all I was doing initially was curating the missing people. I had no idea people were either going to look at this, and like most of my projects, people don't really look at them. I'm probably bad at marketing them too, but most people don't look at it. But that's what I focused on for this particular project initially, just curating. And I think that goes to, I think that goes to my initial strategy with some of the projects. I think something that's undervalued is curation. If we think about some of the biggest accounts on Instagram or TikTok or whatever account you're on, curation is one of the biggest things. If you think about your favorite DJ, you have world-renowned DJs and all they do is curate music, and they add a little bit of their own sauce here and there, but they are masters of curation. And I believe curating content or curating stories or curating whatever it is for a particular demographic is a very good strategy for developing products. If it's a marketplace, curating the best electronics for visually impaired people, I think those kind of ideas are a great strategy. One of the reasons that I think this was particularly powerful is because there is no directory right now focused on a particular demographic. Even more recently, when I was thinking about this, I was thinking there is nothing like this specifically for women, especially with the number of women that are going missing in throughout the world, especially in particular regions of the world where there is a crazy amount of women going missing. But that's just curation, and curation is pretty easy to get started with. So before I continue, does anyone, feel free to interrupt me at any point, ask questions, whatever. So I will show the site, and then we'll look at how the site was made, why I made certain decisions with certain software, and kind of like this decision making. So this is the latest version of the site. The site definitely didn't start like this. The site started as a one-pager, and all it had on one page, on the first page, was, if we go to reports, all it had on the first page initially was this. It had this kind of header, and then it had the current reports that you can filter. If anyone's used Softer, I think the team from Softer have actually done a workshop, so some of you might be familiar with Softer, but all it had initially was something like this. You can search, you can click, it takes you to the list details of that particular person, and it shows you information. That's all it had initially. So what I did after I had that first one pager, and like I said, all I had was that one page. I don't even think I bought the domain initially. And this is how I develop products, because like I said, I develop a lot. So I don't buy the domain for every idea I have. I kind of wait to see kind of people's reaction to it. And if people really take to it, then I start to think more about branding and domain and these kind of things.
Hey, Dominic, I'm just curious from your point of view, like how you decided on shipping that version of your product versus like this one, because you could have easily gone to these lengths and added all this stuff at the start, like versus the one you shipped at the beginning. So what was your thinking behind that?
I prioritize speed and feedback over perfection. So I shipped it. I wanted feedback, which meant that I didn't spend lots of time tweaking, and I played on the feedback people gave me. So I shipped them. You know, people always say about MVP. MVP doesn't actually have to be what I shipped. MVP could have been, I don't know, surveys, or it could have been conversations and you providing consulting. That could have been an MVP. But for me, and the speed I made this in maybe an hour chilling. It wasn't an hour intensive, it was an hour relaxing. And this version, if we go back to it, was probably the quickest thing I could make and get feedback. Because really, the website, all it boils down to is this. Everything else is extra. You know, the news is extra. FAQ is extra. People add in is extra. The core reason the site assists is to boost awareness of these cases. Everything else is a nice to have. This here was a need to have. Does that make sense?
What is your, oh, I'm sorry, Max, did that answer your?
Yeah, all good, yeah.
What's the data source? Are you finding this, or do you have an API that, is there a missing person's API that you were able to like plug into that you could then filter, or a web crawler, I guess?
So, and that's a good point. But the web crawler is the point I'm at now. Anytime I curate, I haven't really spent time creating a web crawler. I usually manually do it, and it doesn't really take me that long. So if I go to this, and the unique thing about this particular, I think this particular case, or cases that are usually more social impact, the data is scattered across all different places. So this is the leading charity in the UK. There's only one charity in the UK that focuses on missing people, and it's this one. And I have to manually go through and select the people. And that was great for MVP, probably not sustainable, but it's great for testing. Like I wouldn't say I quite passed the validation stage, but I'm getting tons of feedback, news reporters messaging me, users messaging me, making suggestions. So I'm getting some pull from people, and that pull didn't come from me creating a web scraper to do this, even though I probably could have figured out how to create a web scraper. But to do this, it just came from me manually clicking on the people, selecting the people, and I'm going to show you the actual backend database, but adding all of this to my backend database manually. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yeah. The interesting thing with my particular use case is, like I said, this is not everything on this website is not all the cases. When it comes to missing people, some of the cases went to the local police and it never leaves the local police. Some it goes to the National Missing People's Agency with the police, because the police have their own National Missing Persons Agency. Some are regional cases. Some make it to this particular charity. So really the data is everywhere, which is a hard thing initially, but it's also good because it means for me as a curator, especially with specific information, people are now looking to my platform to say, we want your platform to fit in the ecosystem of solutions there already is, because I'm curating certain types of information, or at least certain cases of people. Before we jump to the backend database, I'll just show you the rest of the site. So we have this newsletter opt-in, and even down to design. This is very similar to one of the default templates. I didn't even think about design. I just want to see, does this work? Do people value this? I haven't even got to the point of thinking, okay, what is the brand design? I just kept the logo simple. This is just a regular logo that was made on Canva. If you don't know about Canva, Canva's like one of the easiest graphic design tools. And I didn't think about it. I just wrote some text of the name and just kept it as simple as possible. My focus was this. This is the core value, and this is what I was focusing on. Is this delivering value? So we go to the About page. So all these pages are pretty similar. Like I said, I didn't focus on design. I focused on, scroll down. I focused on, is the information clear? Is the offering clear? Is this delivering value? All these other pages came in response to what people were saying. So people were saying there should be organizations. So I added organizations that are support organization. People were saying they want the news on what's going on with the particular cases. So I added that. Canva makes it, not Canva, Softer makes it really easy to do this. People were consistently asking me particular questions. And these are the questions that turned into the FAQ section. So what was the inspiration? I put the inspiration. People asked about statistics. People asked, why are Black people overrepresented? And these questions populated my FAQ. Not to say people read them, people still ask the questions, but it's here if people want to read it. And then obviously I didn't even have a contact page on my first version. When I added a contact page, people started contacting me and making suggestions and basically trying to add and help me improve the platform because they believed in the core mission. And I think they saw, the interesting thing about this, they saw more in it than I saw in it. I didn't even think people would care as much as they cared. So once I created the first, I guess, landing page with the core value, I show you what I tweeted. So I'm going to pull up my Twitter really quick. If it's going to, oh. I sent a tweet, and there's this whole build in public movement, and I'm a part of the build in public movement. And with most of my projects, I do build in public. This one I didn't, and there was no reason why I did or didn't. I just made it, shipped it. I didn't show the progress. I didn't show me, I didn't show all of that. And if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see some of my tweets are like, you don't necessarily have to build in public. It's not a prerequisite. Like with this particular project, I had 8,000 retweets, 5.6 thousand likes, a whole bunch of comments, and this was all I tweeted. I said the statistic, and I said that I started building this, and I said a retweet will mean a lot. I didn't think anybody would retweet this. I used this hashtag, but I don't even think the hashtag mattered. And like I mentioned, this is not like a Bible on what to do. Maybe somebody in this 8,000 people was very famous or very popular, and they retweeted it, which helped it gain a huge audience. I'm not sure, but I think the value was in me building and me just putting it out there, almost without expectation too. Does anyone have any questions? Okay.
What just so you've basically gone from 0 to 1 like super quickly, and you've shipped this thing out there. Now you've got tons of people sharing it. What's your kind of process from like, oh, okay, let's just put this out there, see what people think, I'll probably get a few likes, to, oh crap, I've got all these people liking it and sharing it? Like what's your thought process there, and how, talk us through what happened in those stages?
The interesting thing of this particular project is more socially driven. I didn't do it to think about, I didn't even think about a business model. I really didn't care about a business model. Obviously, I know you need the business model to be sustainable, but I was just like, look, this is a good project. Like this, I want to amplify the cases. I didn't even think about that. But since I got all the traction, and if you want to call this traction, since I got all the interest, now I have to start thinking about a business model, and I have to think about, okay, people really like this. What could this be? How can I respond to people's feedback? I read the comments and people saying they like that it's solution driven. And the toughest thing for me about this particular project is very different. It's very different in terms of, it could be a paid community, but I'm not sure if this would be a paid community. I'm not selling any particular info product. I'm not, this is not subscription based. So really trying to think and being creative about how are these type of projects funded, and they keep going. So I'm not sure if anyone is trying to build in the, I guess, social impact space, but that is an interesting challenge that I don't think spoken about a lot in no-code Twitter, in the no-code communities. I think the benefit of no-code is it makes things like this really, really easy. I think the downside is monetization is a lot more difficult than like a regular SaaS platform. And I'll talk a little bit more about that over time, because there have been advances and changes. I wouldn't say changes, but there have been ways that I have thought about this project a little bit differently that's outside the building of the platform. Just to look at some of the statistics, and I'm not sure if it shows this, if I can view details. Let's see. So I actually ran an experiment. What's the date today? I ran an experiment a couple of days ago, I think. And I wanted to, after it went viral, it went viral maybe from the 16th and to the, I don't know, from the 16th to maybe the 24th, 25th. And as the traffic or the retweets or the activity started to slow down, I wanted to test, does Twitter paid promotions actually work? And obviously this is not a great test because it was already viral, but I wanted to test to see if it worked. And I think in my case, it didn't really change a whole lot, but it's interesting to see that, 750,000 was organic, 20,000 was promoted. I paid £50 to do this. So it was interesting. I'm not sure if anyone else has tried paid promotions on Twitter, but I thought this is my opportunity, especially with one of my projects, to try and see how is the paid promotions process. It's really simple to do on Twitter. I'm not sure how much it impacted the site, especially after it was already circulating so much. It will be an interesting experiment to try paid promotions from zero and see how it impacts traffic. But maybe that's for another project. Something else to look at was Plausible. So I use Plausible. If you don't know Plausible, it's like Google Analytics. And as we can see, the traffic spikes a whole lot and then it drops. But Plausible is like Google Analytics, but 100 times easier. And I quickly, and you should see I'm still on the trial version, but I quickly signed up to Plausible. I was watching the traffic and tracking how people were interacting with the website. What I actually had, this bounce rate is up to 60, but I was watching the bounce rate, and I was, especially when I had that one page. When I had that one page, your bounce rate is when people visit the first page and then they leave. Initially, my bounce rate was really high. That's actually not good for SEO and your search engine optimization, but I only had basically a landing page with the main offering. And as I added more pages and I took the core value away from that landing page and I put it in the reports page, my bounce rate decreased. But also there was all these other factors that came into play. So if we look at, maybe if I can go to particular days, yeah.
Just wondered if anyone has any questions just on this stuff at all. All good, it seems.
So you can actually see it goes from 0 visitors at 7 p.m. and it spikes to 93 by 11 p.m. on the 16th. And that Twitter post that I had was posted on the 16th. If I can find it, yeah. It was posted on the 16th. So that was my first post, my first public post about the project. As you can see, the session visit was about a minute and the bounce rate was about 63. But I was getting page views, I was getting unique visitors, which was good. People were interested. And then as you can see, the second day, or I guess the next day, because that was the evening. So that same 24 hours, but the next day, unique visitors skyrocketed, page views skyrocketed. The duration dropped a little bit, but the bounce rate went up. And this was the second. I didn't even change the layout until maybe the 25th, the 24th, as traffic started to slow down. As you can see here.
Sorry, Dominic. What's the reasoning behind using Plausible versus like Google Analytics? Is that like just simplicity, I'm guessing?
Yeah, for me, it was simplicity. Actually, my Google Analytics is connected. I don't even look at it just because of the simplicity of Plausible. So if anyone's even tried to use Google Analytics, it can be rather complicated. I like that I can just log on and I can just see this one dashboard, and it's just very, very clear to me what's going on. And this might still be confusing to some people, but for me, this was very clear. Plausible was recommended after I asked for alternatives to Google Analytics. So this is my first time using Plausible, and I'm very happy with it.
Awesome.
Initially, initially I was watching this a lot, and then over some time I was only watching it to inform decisions. So as you can see, I was thinking about where my traffic was coming from. As you can see, most recently I got traffic from Instagram and Facebook, which is interesting because I didn't even have an Instagram. If we go, we can actually see, we can see at the bottom, I have all these social medias. At the beginning, I didn't have any social media. I didn't even make a social media. I didn't really care about it until people started messaging me saying you should have a social media. Like, I know I should have a social media, but when somebody mentioned about all these shipping consistently, I found that consistently buying domains and consistently setting up an email and consistently creating social media accounts, it was wasting my time. I just wanted to focus on, is there value in this particular project? And I can show you other projects that I think are like, I like them, they're cool, but no one's really found value in them outside maybe Product Hunt, and that's about it. What was also interesting to me was, at least from the analytics, was most of my visitors were coming from mobile, which meant, and it made it really easy in, oh, we can't see it there. So I'll pull out the back end. It made it really easy and softer because it was mobile responsive by default. And if you haven't used too many no-code platforms, you might think, oh yeah, of course it's mobile responsive by default. But if I built this in Bubble, I might have had to do additional work to make it mobile responsive because it's not as easy to do as Softer. So Softer handles a lot of this for me. This is the editor for Softer. And I just want to watch the time. I don't want to talk forever. Maybe I need to go a little bit quicker. But yeah, this is some of the data analytics. If we just zoom through these days, you can see bounce rate decreasing, but you can also see session time decreasing. And these are informing decisions I'm making on copy. And just to think about some other tools I want to show you. You see on this day, the duration visit was 2 minutes, was good, but my unique visitors are dropping. So I'm making decisions on a daily basis on what to do, what to leave out, based on the analytics, based on feedback I'm getting and questions I'm being asked. I also connected something called Hotjar, so I actually have to log into this. So Hotjar shows me exactly where users are clicking on. So what it does, it takes a snapshot and it's basically recording people's sessions, and it tells me what they click on and what they don't click on. So I'm just gonna try to sign in so I can show you this. While this is signing in, does anyone have any questions? No questions, okay. So we're logging into Hotjar.
Dominic, I do have a quick question.
Yeah.
You think about scaling, as you were saying, you were doing all the pulling in the data manually. As you think about scaling, what do you think your scaling execution will look like, say, maybe in a month or 6 months or a year on this particular project?
I think I'm not sure if this is unique to this type of project, but the way the missing people cases were working for some of the people that were highlighting it, like for the charity, is that people, like the police, will post the poster to the charity's platform. So really, their information is being, I say crowdsourced, but the local police are posting this to this platform. So ideally, I would want the local police to also post to my platform as well. Or the families of the people. Now, I'm dealing with vulnerable people. So I can't just let anybody post, because let's say there's a domestic abuse case and someone's ran away for a particular reason, that they're being abused in the home, the abuser shouldn't be able to post on my platform, say they're missing, we find them and we bring them back to the abuser. That can't happen. So I vet the sources very specifically. It has to come from the local police, or it has to come from a charity. There are people that message me about cases, but I have to also see it from the local police or verified charities, which makes it difficult. And that's still something I'm working on how that can work, where it's safe for everybody involved, but it also amplifies the search for the missing person. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there are some tools out there I think that you could use and leverage. I was just curious what your thoughts are, aside from naming any specific tools or anything like that. So thank you.
Yeah. So we're going to jump to...
Sorry, Dominic, I have a really basic question here on Airtable. So software basically uses Airtable as a backend that presumably goes through the API, right? So from a licensing point of view for Airtable, how does that work, right? I mean, do you just buy one seat of Airtable and use it in your software app, or?
Yeah, so let me do this real quick. So when you set up a new project in Airtable or in Softer, if we find, I don't even know what one I use. I think I'm not sure what one I use. It asks you for your Airtable API key. You grab your API key and you work through the steps. I usually always clone their basic base, and it clones it. And if we jump back to you can see all of my Airtable projects. I basically just clone their base and then manipulate their base. Airtable is free, at least how I use it is free. You can add automations and scripts and superpower Airtable, but I'm using it in a very, very simple way. And I'm not doing too much automation to begin with.
So you're not hitting user counts, right? I mean, mainly you're hitting row counts, right, with Airtable, but you're not hitting user counts, kind of paywalls.
No. Yeah, so right now it's just me. I don't have any contributors. If I do have a form on my Softer, I think it goes to the contribute. I do have a form that allows people to add rows, but this is not seen in the front end. This is just for me to vet and see information. If someone wants to add a source, I can see this and now I can choose to add it or not add it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, Softer makes it really, really easy. I think there could be a whole discussion on why Softer, because I think I could have done this in Webflow. My biggest problem with Webflow, if you see my Softer account, I have so many projects in Softer, and Webflow doesn't allow me to do that without pay. So you get 2 free builds outside of your paid ones. So let's say if I pay for 1 build, I get 2 free. If I have 5 builds that I paid for in Webflow, I still get 2 free builds. I'm not sure if that's clear.
Yeah, no, Bubble, because Bubble kind of, I didn't realize that's pretty much the way Bubble works as well, right? I mean, they charge you for each app that you have on the go, kind of a thing, as opposed to what you've deployed, right? Which kind of caught me actually the first time around, because I had been used to a different model where until you deployed, you didn't get charged, right? Yeah.
Exactly. It is my criticism of Bubble, especially as someone who makes a lot of projects, is my criticism of Bubble and Webflow. I would actually use them more if I could build a lot more with them without paying.
Yeah.
It's something I like about Glide, it's something I like about Adalo, that I can just keep building and I can publish the ones I want to publish. And actually, particular with Softer, this was the first project. So Softer allow you 1 free custom domain. So usually to add a custom domain, you have to pay or upgrade, but Softer allow you 1 free custom domain. So you can start a project today, you can add the custom domain for free. but you can only do that once. And this particular project was my first time doing that. And that's something I liked. I told them that's a small thing, but to me it kind of meant a lot. So yeah. We're gonna jump, and I'm gonna try and be a lot quicker, but we're going to jump to Hotjar. And as you can see, these dots are where people click it. People are clicking. Like I said, this was the very first page. This was what I had right at the beginning. As you can see, I have very little there. The red is where people click on the most. You can see 21 clicks, percentages. You can see what people are clicking on. And this is how I'm making decisions. And recently I've ran another test, but we're not going to go through this other test, but I think I started it from the 18th. On the 18th, I ran another test just to test the changes. I'm not sure if someone has something to say. I'm gonna pull up again. Please feel free to interrupt me whenever you want to interrupt me, because I'm basically just showing you everything that's going on the back end. There's no structure here whatsoever.
I'm just really curious, Dominic, like what is your driver here? Like, are you trying to develop your skill set? So, you know, using these different programs and stuff and developing your expertise, or are you finding because it's viral that you're changing your focus and really getting behind the cause?
My driver, number one, I like the initial stage of creation. There's a problem, it needs solving. I need to find a way to solve the problem. And that's what I really like. Once it's going, I would rather hand it off to people so I can like keep creating. But I'm in the stage of like product. I'm not sure if you heard the term startup studio or product studio. I like developing lots of different products. And as I've been developing lots of different products, I found my voice as a creator. I found my voice in what type of industries do I like to create, and what type of things do I like to create? What type of tools do I like to use? And I've only really found that out through trying different things, using different tools. Like there's certain things I will make in Glide that I wouldn't make in Adalo. Or there's one thing I found out recently, and I love helping people with their, like, they see a problem and they want to know what tool to use or how to build it. I love helping them with that, especially since I'm in the hackathon space. So something I'd done a lot of workshops with students in Africa, and they said the paid plans with Glide are way too expensive for them. And these were students. And they said most of them didn't have bank accounts to even be able to pay for it. And then they also said it needs offline availability. If it needs offline availability, I would actually recommend something like AppSheet. But you only know these things from like using all these different tools and adding them to your tool set. And that's the advantage I have of being in the product studio space, where I am really flexible. Does that is that clear?
That makes sense, because I'm in that space where I'm just finding I'm going deeper and deeper into Webflow, and I'm just sort of looking at what you're doing, and I'm like, I haven't even explored like half of these tools. I'm just wondering whether I'm cutting my creativity short by not doing that. So it's really inspiring. Now carry on.
Yeah, I think it's a trade-off. I don't think you can have it all with the specialized. And I think, and this is what I think recently. I think if you're highly skilled at Webflow, you can do the same thing I can do with Webflow. So I might turn around and say, okay, I'm going to make this in Odalo or Bubble. But if you can do everything I can do with Webflow, really, it doesn't matter what tool that you use. Like, no one cares that I built this with Softer. Actually, the interesting thing, especially as someone with a developer background, is that lots of people were telling me it looks amazing, and I did very little. No one cares. Like, and so if you have a deep domain knowledge in Webflow, or if you have a broad knowledge of lots of different cool tools, no one really cares. It's just about how the problem is going to be solved. And
yeah. I really like that. And I really appreciate your whole take on the MVP and just getting something out quick and dirty, and just that's really shifted something in my mind. So for sure.
Yeah. I think it's hard. Again, I have only come to that place from building lots of stuff. Most of what I make, no one even looks at and no one even cares about. Some of the things I think, no, this is amazing, and no one cares about it. And like I said, part of that is my marketing, but part of it is like, I think I've got to a place in my creative journey where I can be vulnerable like that. I can just throw up a landing page and say, okay, like, here's the product, like a landing page and this web app. And I can say, here's the product. And I'm okay with being vulnerable, but the only reason I got to that place is from building lots of different things and just shipping. So.
It would be good to see one of your projects that you think was amazing, and you're saying that hasn't gone anywhere. Yeah. I'm really curious to see.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll show that. In a short while. How long have we got, Max?
We normally kind of close on the hour until we can go over a couple of minutes. That's kind of timeline at the moment.
I'll be super quick. So I use Copy AI for the copy, and I use Copy AI for the metadata. I probably don't have time to show you what I did to optimize it for search, but I use this. It's an amazing tool. The founder's amazing. He actually gave me a free lifetime version because I'm building it for a cause. And yeah, it's amazing. You can get a free 7-day free trial. But even after that, I think it's worth it. And you don't have to limit it to your projects. You can use it for emails and lots of different things, letters and social media. You can use it for lots of different things. I actually use a tool called Improv Mx, and I'm not going to log in this right now. But what it actually does, I have my domain, my email address for the project is info@missingblackpeople.com. But I don't really own that email address. I own the domain. I don't have the email address. Like, it's not Gmail. It's not anything else. But what this does is, for free, it redirects it. So it redirects all the emails to my regular email address. And again, like, when I'm developing projects, especially right at the beginning, I'm trying to be super conservative with money. So I'm not trying to buy all these different subscriptions to these different services. That's why sometimes I will build it in Softer or Glide or Darlo, because paying for another Webflow hosting account, that just adds up. It added up too quickly for me that I had to close down sites and projects. But yeah, this redirects to my email address. Trying to think what else to show quickly. Does anybody want to see anything else in particular? Oh, maybe I speak about improvements. So what I've actually done is started a petition, and this momentum has brought other things. Like, reporters have, over the last week, I maybe done 4 interviews with different reporters across the UK, which has helped for the website. I've had brands include the site in their newsletter with like 50,000 subscribers. Facebook pages feature the website. I couldn't have predicted all of this would happen, and I couldn't have planned for it to happen. But one advantage that I had, especially with 100 Days of No Code, was the habit of building. So my habit of building allowed me to move quickly. So when someone said they want a feature, I can quickly add a feature. And I know how to add it. I didn't really spend much time learning. I can just react and kind of play in the creative space. And that was what I developed, I guess, over the last year in no code, from building and shipping and shipping. So we've got a couple more minutes left. I'll just show you some projects. Some projects that I have a couple projects that did really well on Product Hunt. I have projects that I kind of like that didn't do well at all. So this was made in Pori. This was right at the beginning of lockdown, and it was a curated directory for virtual date ideas. And I thought this was cool. I got some emails about this. I thought about recently reviving this project, but I'm not sure. This did really well on Product Hunt. Again, curation. I curated TikTok cooking recipes. So all you do is a Glide app. I'm not going to open this, but this is a Glide app. Oh, we're not going to log into. It's a Glide app with all these 60-second recipes from TikTok. And more recently, I've actually seen a company get funded with a similar idea, a 60-second cooking app. But all I did is curated from TikTok.
Are you monetizing these somehow through advertising, or is it just kind of just trying out different ideas, hoping something's going to stick?
Yeah, these are I wouldn't call them dead projects, but they're projects I made and just like look, I haven't even got the domain. They're projects I made and just left there, made in like my creative journey, I guess. I guess more recently, let's see what I've made more recently. I think an important thing here, if you're anything like me, is, let's see. I thought this was cool. I think there's an important thing here, if you're anything like me, is to be able to distinguish. I put the projects in 3 categories. Is this social impact? Is this a commercial venture? Or is this for fun/learning? And it determines my amount of commitment and my amount of funds invested. If I say this is going to be a business venture, then I commit a lot more time and I invest a lot more money because the main reason for it is to make money. If I say this is a social venture, I might commit more time than something that's just for fun. But I typically want to be conservative on money because I have no idea how it's going to make money or even like break even. If it's something for fun, I try not to spend any money, or fun or learning, I try not to spend any money. And I try to complete a project in a short amount of time. So if I'm working on something in Bubble, I want to finish it within that day or that weekend and wrap that project up in that time. This was a project. This was a project of the tweet made in Glide, and a woman in my network was like, we need to be able to search lipstick by color, and I made an app to search lipstick by color. And like that, again, this was a fun project.
What came of it? Is it live? I could really do with that, Dominic.
It's live. I mean, you can use. I'll drop the URL. But what I have done more recently is all these projects I use for my YouTube channel. So I use them to show people how to build certain stuff. Like there was features in this particular app that are like, I'm not sure if you've seen this part in Glide, but I have this kind of I don't know, 2 drop-down menus in Glide where you can actually select. Or I have a feature here where you can click, it copies the color, and then you can paste here. There's nothing of this color, but it will search by this particular color code. Or you can add color inspiration. So yeah, there's lots of features, but this is the kind of thing you get when you're shipping a lot. But the good thing about that is that you realize what you like to build, what you don't like to build, what platforms you like to use, what you don't like to use, and where the limits are. There are limits on Glide, and I only learned that in building a lot with Glide or Bubble. I build with Bubble too. I haven't shown any Bubble projects. I build some interesting projects with Bubble as well. But I think we're limited for time. Maybe got a couple minutes for questions, Max.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. This has been great. I just love the variety of ideas on the show here. Maybe one last kind of question from people, and then we'll get your closing thoughts. So yeah, if anyone got like any burning questions before we wrap up, just got time for one more.
Your criteria for choosing Bubble over Adlo or Adlo over Bubble.
Sorry. I think more complex things where I am going to use more APIs. I like Bubble. I do like Webflow. I haven't shown the projects, but I do like Webflow. I usually use, when I'm doing more workflow stuff, like this happens, then this happens, I use Bubble. I use Webflow for really simple projects. Like if I'm going to do something for a client, I'm probably going to use, for most clients, I'm going to use Webflow with most clients. Unless they wanted like a fintech app or a fintech service or a CRM. There's people that can do CRMs with Webflow, but I'm probably more comfortable with Bubble doing like a CRM dashboard than Webflow. I keep the Webflow projects really simple to like simple websites. And I'm not sure other people's take on Webflow, but that's just how I use Webflow.
Okay, thanks.
Awesome. Cool. Well, yeah, it would be great just to get your kind of closing remarks, Dominic. If there's any like take home message that you want us to go home with, that'd be immense. And yeah, it's been great fun having you on.
Yeah, I think the main thing that I learned in this whole thing was, and I think it's important to 100 Days of No Code, and really a testament to 100 Days of No Code too, is that like keep building. What you're really doing is training your muscle in building. You don't know when something's going to take off. You don't know what's going to take off. But if you train your muscle in building, you'll be able to react accordingly. I have a sports background. It's the same thing. You don't know when you're going to have to hit the buzzer, beat a shot in basketball. But if you're prepared to take that shot, then it's not really a problem. You can just step up and do it whenever you need to do it. And it's the same thing to me in no code and building solutions.
Love that. Absolutely love that. Awesome. Thanks so much, Dominic, for your time and your insights. And yeah, this will be shared widely after the event. So thanks, guys, everyone. Really good to see you all. And see you all on Slack, and have amazing weeks.
Thank you.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.